What's up, guys? We're back at it again with another video. Really wanted to talk to you guys about entrepreneurship and taking that leap from the corporate world over into entrepreneurship. We often get a lot of questions from people asking like, how did you guys do it? How should I do it? Should I quit my job right now? Should I wait? These are things that you should be thinking about, but I think hearing it from our perspective and kind of what we did will definitely help you in making the right decision on how to move forward into your entrepreneurship journey. So let's start from our boy Lee. He took a huge leap of faith. But
let's talk about it.
What was kind of your thought process when we first started this company, going from corporate world into what we do now?
100%. Well, thank you, brother. Great introduction. So what we like to talk about is there's always going to be points where people ask us questions about becoming an entrepreneur. And one of the things we always say, there's usually going to be 3 reasons why you become an entrepreneur. The first one is that your business makes enough money for you to start a business and become an entrepreneur. The second point is you save up enough money to go into business and become an entrepreneur. And the third is you become an entrepreneur by accident, right? You get laid off, you lose your job, and you have no other option. And so for us, we started off our business where we got to the point where we paid off debt, a lot of the things that's going to be taking a lot of our income, and we saved so that we could go full-time as entrepreneurs. We just burned the ship, right? And we went full-time. I started going straight in. A little bit more about our background. I went for the first about 1.5 years until our business became where it was making enough money for then Kirk to come on full-time. Because the last thing we wanted to do is be making money and then all the money we're making is going into our pockets, right? We wanted to make sure that we had cash reserves, make sure we had money for operational expenditures, taxes, all this different stuff. So we gave ourselves enough runway to be successful to where, we started this business with a $2,000 investment. And since that day, we've never had to put another dollar into the business. It's been self-funded now for the last 6.5 years. And very rarely do we get outside funding, even though we do have private investors and lenders for us to be able to buy as many properties as we buy. But as far as any other investments from ourselves, that's just come from doing business the right way. So that's a little bit more about how we got into this business, right? Again, we just try to the least amount of things least amount of expenses as possible so we can give ourselves the most runway to be successful. But once you get started in the business, right? Now that you start in business, you've created the LLC, you brainstorm, you figure out how to come up with LLC name and all that. Now you're actually in business. However you got into business, now you're in business, right? Now everything's on you. So talking about the things you're gonna learn becoming an entrepreneur, and really us kind of going a little bit deeper on our personal journey and transition from being employees to everything's on us, right? Everything falls on us. But the biggest thing I want to start off with is about how important discipline is. So tell the people about what we've learned about discipline and how important it is for us just in our journey and just for the future as well.
Man, discipline is so important in entrepreneurship. When working corporate 9 to 5 or whatever 9 to 5 job that you're in, you get a lot of leeway, right? There's a lot of people behind you that can pick up slack when you're slacking off, right? You have teammates, you have managers, you have people that are going to hold you accountable, right, to your job and what you're doing.
Yep.
Whereas when you jump out into entrepreneurship, you're starting a business, everything's on you, right? There's nobody behind you saying, hey, Lee, you got to wake up, man. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. this morning because you have, these things that you have to get to. Nobody's there to do that for you, right? So it's something that has to be innate within you, right? You have to tell yourself like, hey, no, I need to get up, I need to get this stuff done, because nobody else is going to do it for me, right? So every day, day in, day out, you have to be accountable to yourself. And I think that's the hardest thing that people have to get through, right? It's like, how do I transition my mind from, hey, I have somebody there to help me to, okay, I'm doing this on my own, right? So it takes some time. It's not something that happens overnight, but as soon as you start your company, right, and you're moving, you'll start to realize and slowly burn away those bad habits of the 9 to 5, and you'll start to hustle a lot harder within your company.
I love that, man. And I think exactly what you said, it's one of those things, discipline is one of those ongoing things, right? Because we all have our ups and downs. You're going to find you're being real disciplined and you start to fall off a little bit, right? But I think one of the cool things we do in our company is we do our monthly goals, right? And what it forces us to do is have us all be accountable. Both Kirk and I, our team, we set these monthly goals where the goal of it is at the end of the day is to be the best version of yourself. That's what I feel like the purpose in life is. Before you get to the grave, can you say that you really tried everything you can to be the absolute best version of yourself so that you're leaving behind a stamp on this world before your time is up? And so I think that's one of the things that we've incorporated. We see how important it is pushing us and challenging ourselves. I know your goals is, reading the Bible and not eating candy and staying consistent and working out. You big swole, you're the security guard for the company. I know for me, it's like consistently working out and I think for this month is journaling and no alcohol Monday through Friday, only drinking on Saturday and Sunday. So it's all these little small things that we do to constantly remind ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. Even though we're 6.5 years into the game, we're still having to work on this discipline and keep it consistent because we know how important it is being entrepreneurs, because there's really, other than you and I, there's really, other than our customers, of course, that hold us accountable and our team hold us accountable. At the end of the day, if we wanted to sleep in, we could.
Sure.
But we got to hold ourselves accountable with discipline.
Absolutely.
So moving on from discipline in our journey, let's talk about how important like mindset. What does it take, or just that transition of a mindset from employee to an entrepreneur? What do you feel like has been the hardest transition mentally, or the barrier mentally that you've had to overcome being an entrepreneur, having this discipline of really expanding our mindset to where we are today?
That's a great question.
That's why I asked it.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to mindset is realizing that you are now a leader. A lot of times in the corporate world, you may not be leading anyone, right? You may be responsible for yourself and you have to report to a leader. Once you're starting a company, right, you're being an entrepreneur, you are now that leader. You're that guy, you're that woman in charge, right? So it's really shifting your mindset to realize I have to step into that position now, right? I have to make sure that I am doing everything that I possibly can to be the best leader for my company, for my people that are behind me, right? And that's a hard thing to kind of get into. I've never been in that space before, because kind of like what you said in other videos, you feel like, am I a fraud? Because I've never done this before. I've never led anybody. So how do I do it? But you have to pour into yourself, right? So I think the biggest thing that helped us was pouring in, right? Reading a lot of leadership books, reading books about leadership, about business, learning from other leaders, right? Other entrepreneurs that are running, multi-million-dollar companies, learning from them, right? The more you pour into yourself, the better you'll be for your business and the more your business can grow. So I think that's really the mindset shift you have to really make, is like, okay, hey, look, this is my ship now. I'm the captain. What do they say? I'm the captain. I'm the captain now, right? So put that hat on, really own it, and steer that ship in the right direction.
That's fire, bro. I love that. So we've talked about discipline. We've talked about mindset. Now I want to get a little bit more personal. I want to talk about the things that a lot of entrepreneurs maybe don't talk about, or what you don't see on social media. Is just, let's talk about like how lonely it can be being an entrepreneur. And I'll chime in as well. I'm not going to leave you out there. I'm the only person to be emotional or anything, like share our emotions. But also too, like just how you're going to feel every single emotion as an entrepreneur. Because I truly believe that entrepreneurship is not just about the journey of your business, but it's the journey of who you are as a person. Because I try to tell people this, the only way I can explain it is your business and how far your business goes is directly associated with how far you push yourself. And a business is a direct reflection of its leader. So if you're looking at your business and wondering, why is my business falling apart? Look at how your life is. What's your personal life look like, right? Is it falling apart? Is it chaotic? Your business most likely is going to be chaotic.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with loneliness as an entrepreneur and things that we do to create a community around us. So it's not just everything is about us, and how we create a community of our circle so that it's not so lonely and we can really have collaboration and teamwork and really kind of collaboration of the company.
You know what's funny? I'm actually going to flip that on you.
Okay.
I'm going to let you answer that, because here's the reason why. So I've been lucky to have a wonderful wife be next to me throughout this whole journey, right? So I had somebody outside of you, right, to go to and speak to when things, where we are now, right?
Exactly.
If we were going through something, I'm like, man, I can dump off into her. Now, I know for you in the beginning when we first started off, right, you were the lone soldier all by yourself before I left my company, right? My 9 to 5, jump into it. So that was a tough moment in time. That was a tough year. It's not an easy year. So how did you maneuver through that? What was going through your mind, and what helped you transition from what you were going through into where you are now?
Man, that's a great question. So, man, there were so many things that was going on during that time when we started. Well, I'd say the first thing was, quit the job in June, July. I think July. And then Hurricane Harvey hit in what, September? August, September, right? So 3 months after I quit my job, guys, Hurricane Harvey hit the city of Houston. Completely eradicated what we were doing as investors. Everything was just at a standstill for like an entire month or even maybe a little bit longer. Nobody knew. Okay, so now the question is, how do we calculate the ARV for a property after it's flooded? Is it the same ARV? Is it lower? But if it is lower, how much lower? how much do we discount it, right? Has it flooded once? Has it flooded twice? Has it flooded 3 times? If it's flooded twice, does that mean it's a higher or lower ARV? If it's flooded 3 times, how does that affect the ARV? So there's so much uncertainty. So for me, I think going through that process, I was like, what the hell have I just done, right? I just left a comfortable cush job, 401k, salary, benefits, don't really have to worry about too much, but just doing a good job. And now I've quit my job, not making any income, and then Hurricane Harvey hits. And I'm thinking like, perfect timing, Lee. But I would say the biggest thing, I think also knowing that it wasn't just me, like, yes, I know it was me that quit first, but we were still partners in the business, right? So I think having a partner that understands what we're going through helps. And I say the biggest thing I'd say is, man, just faith. I think unwavering faith and commitment is what I'd say. Because I think anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, you have to be committed to that decision. So no matter what happens, like, you have to have this sense of commitment that no matter what happens, no matter if I get punched in the face, no matter if Hurricane Harvey comes, no matter if there's a wildfire that happens, I'm committed to never giving up, never quitting, and I'm gonna see it through to the end. And I think by having that mindset with us starting off, I never questioned about whether or not we were gonna figure it out. Now, I was scared as shit because we weren't making no money. I was scared, but I never doubted that if we gave it enough time that it would work. And the great thing about it is our first deal was a property that flooded from Hurricane Harvey. And it's a deal we talk about a lot. If you guys have been following us, our very first deal, it was a $40,000 assignment deal. And that's what saved us, right? It saved us. We were down to what, our last, $200-300 in the bank?
Like $200.
And this deal was a $40,000 deal that we JV'd with some other bigger guys in the business at the time. We JV'd it. So, after fees and everything, we walked away with close to about 19 grand. But after we got that 19 grand, guys, it was a wrap. Now we had marketing dollars, like we could go and just turn it up after that, right? And we never looked back. So I think it's just that committed, bro. I think that was the biggest thing for me in the beginning, is just being committed and just knowing that regardless, we're gonna figure this out and we're just not gonna quit, bro. Now, the second part of that is talking about feeling all these different emotions, right? And I think we still share some of these things, whether you're in a relationship, not in a relationship, wife, no wife, of just feeling like maybe just doubt, anxiety, sometimes feeling depressed, having anger, extreme happiness, extreme joy, all these different things. Like, for me, I could say I've experienced every single emotion, but it's also toughened me up to where now, when things happen, I've just realized this is just my new normal, right? Business is always gonna be like this, right? There's always gonna be a fire you have to put out. There's always gonna be an issue you have to deal with. This is why this shit is hard. This is why everybody can't do it. And this is why everybody's not successful doing it. Because it's consistently hard. It's consistently tough. If your norm is being around consistently hard and consistently tough, something's gonna happen. You're gonna eventually become consistently hard and consistently tough. And so what you thought was hard before now just becomes your norm. So what would you add to that?
Man, I think that was perfectly put, right? Like you said, you're always gonna go through these emotions. It's inevitable, right? The biggest one is fear, right? That's the thing that you're gonna run into the most. It's like, hey, I'm running out of money. What do I do? Are we gonna make it to next month? Right? So it's just overcoming those things, those emotions that you have. But I like what you said, right? It's going through those things will build a callus, right? It's like working out. You look at a person's hands when they first start off, it's really soft. But over time, you start to look at the palms and it gets really rough, right? From just continuous repetitions, holding that bar, beating up your hands, going through it, going through the pain. And then eventually, right, that bar that you were holding, it hurt in the beginning when you're bench pressing, but a year later, you're like, oh, I don't feel it anymore, right? Am I holding
Easy
something?
work.
So you have to go through it. It's no way around it. You can't run from it. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you're gonna go through these things. You just can't run away from the emotions, right? Embrace them, learn from them, grow through them. So I love that.
It's the journey, baby. That's what it's all about.
So in the beginning, we talked about the 3 ways of, getting from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Right? You had an amazing job that you were working, right? So what was your thought process of going through? How did you break down, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to leave this great job that I'm working and I'm going to start something of my own. What was your thought process going through that? And how'd you, break it down?
Yeah, so it was actually probably one of the toughest decisions I had to make. in my life, especially financially, right? I think there's a lot of things I didn't know at the time, but I could definitely say the biggest thing is where I worked. And for you all who are maybe watching and don't know, so Kirk and I are both accountants by trade. I went to go work for a public floor accounting firm. He went work for one of the top car dealerships in the nation. And so for me, working at an accounting firm, it's set up just like a law firm, right? So you've got associates, senior associates, managers, directors, and partners. Same kind of structure as a law firm. You've got big clients. All my clients were like Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 50 companies. You can think about it. We're in Houston. It's a lot of money, right? So it was a good job. It was a cush job. I traveled all over the place. I got to experience a lot of things that I probably would never have been able to experience without that job. And I think it came down to really just being observant of the people that were at the higher levels within the company, right? So a lot of times when you're looking about what your life is going to look like, a lot of times you can just look at the leadership, right? You can look at the leadership and know like, okay, I know that the end goal here at this firm is for me to be a partner. Well, my thing would be like, let me go have deep conversations with the partners. And so for us, I got really lucky. I traveled a lot with clients. So after we would go meet with our clients, have these presentations, afterwards we would go to dinner, and then sometimes we'll end up at the bar before we go back to our hotels and stuff. And of course, some of the best relationships and conversations happen over a nice drink, right? And I had the opportunity to be able to have conversations with my directors and my partners. And I would talk to them just about life and just really seeing how their life was. And a lot of times it just seemed kind of chaotic, right? Their personal lives were very chaotic. They were just there because it was almost like the golden handcuffs, right? It's like they've been there for a very long time. They were making really, really good money. They really didn't love what they did though, but they loved the money. And so, but I remember these conversations of like, man, I've always wished, I remember one person in particular would tell me, man, I really had this desire to own my own pizza franchise. And I'd ask him, why did? Well, because I got this job, I had kids, and this is just what it is now, right? But it's almost like that dream that's lost. And so for me, I just wanted to make sure that, I wanted to have more control over my life. And it's kind of like, I wanted to look at that, like, this is going to be my worst case scenario, right? So if all else fails, my goal is like, you know what? I can always go back and get an accounting job. And that'll just be my life. And it's still going to be a cush life, right? If that's my worst case, so be it. But for me, I wanted to have more control over my life. And also too, I knew that in order for me to really push myself to the next level and really have full control over my life and really just no limit in terms of what I can achieve, I knew the only way to do that is to go out on our own, right? There's no limit to what we can achieve because no one's ever going to pay you to reach your own dreams. You got to go get them yourself. So that's the bar. That's why I did it, bro.
I like that. So you had the 9-to-5. You said, I'm going to bet on myself. Why quit cold turkey though before actually starting into the real estate?
Great question. I'd say 2020 hindsight, right? I didn't know what I did know, right? I think the main thing was going cold turkey was because the way my job was set up, my last project I was on, I was going back and forth to a client in Florida every single week. So I was never here, right? I was always there. I'd be there and I'd be here Saturday, and then I get here on like a Friday night and I leave Sunday morning, and I'll be out there Sunday through Friday, come back here Friday night. So I had really no time to kind of be boots on the ground and really try to do what we needed to do real estate with that type of lifestyle on my job. I would say for anyone else who has a 9-to-5 where they have the flexibility where you have a 9-to-5 that is not a lot of pressure, it doesn't take a lot of your time. I think you and I both know this. I would definitely say to keep your main job, because especially if you're getting into investing and you want to own properties and stuff, it's much easier to get bank financing when you have W-2 income. Whereas for us in our business, we quit cold turkey, and for us to get bank financing, they want to see 2-3 years of tax returns. They want to see a lot of money in the bank. They want to see continuous growth in your business. So it's way more stringent. So it's way harder for us to get a loan showing millions in revenues and a bunch of money in cash in the bank than it is for someone who makes $40,000, $50,000 a year on a W-2. That's crazy, right? But banks want to have certainty. They know with businesses, it could be a great year. The next year, it could be absolutely terrible. But they know with W-2 income, it's consistent. And when they're lending, they're in the business of lending. They're not in the business of getting those houses and foreclosing. So they want to make sure that you're going to have consistent income, that you're going to be a dependable borrower. So I would say for me, that's why I made the transition, because I think it would have been too hard for me not to and still go full time into this business. But if I had the opportunity, knowing what I know now, and maybe people that are watching, I would definitely say if you have a cush, flexible 9-to-5 However, you work from home, I would definitely say keep that main job until your business makes enough for you to quit, which is what we talked about. That's one of the ways for you to go into business. It's much easier that way than it is to just burn the ship and go all in like we did. So,
True. So we can talk about this all day, guys. We have so many stories about how we started, how we got to where we are. As you can see right here, we're in an office right now, right? We're in the lobby of our office. We started off at home. We have tons of stories about how we got to where we are. But I want to leave you guys with this. Everything you want in life is on the other side of hard. So choose hard. Peace.